Everyone look up front.
Even if you got a good score on this quiz, pay attention. There's certain things I allowed on this quiz, but I wouldn't allow on the test. Right now, we're still learning the topic, so I give you a little more leeway. But I had to see the work. For the first one, some of you are having trouble with what's in front of you. If you see the right angle there, what does that make the 50? Hypotenuse. What letter goes with the hypotenuse? C. So when I write c squared equals a squared plus b squared, the 50 has to go there. What do you want to call this side? Can I call it x? And 18 squared goes there. Check your paper. Did you put the 50 in the wrong spot? Did you put the 18 in the wrong spot? Some of you did that correctly. That's how it should be set up. And then you didn't do the squaring right. What is 50 squared? 2,500. A lot of you wrote 250. That's fixable. We can fix that before the test. Then you can get a better grade on this section, and then I can average out the quiz grade. How about 18? Is that 324?
Yes.
You do a little subtraction. I get 2176. Some of you made it that far. You got 2176. What's your final step? Square root. I needed to the nearest foot. Some of you were doing simplified radical form. I didn't want any radicals. I wanted you to round it to the nearest foot. You got something like 46.6, but to the nearest foot, that is 47 feet. Check and see. Did you get a point taken off because you didn't round? If you got the 2176, you probably got partial credit. Check and see where you went wrong. Nearest foot, we want to this place, no decimals. Most of the mistakes I saw were fixable. On this paper, I want to know what it was you did wrong. Did you put this in the wrong spot? Did you have 250 instead of 2,500? Did you get to this and then you decided you wanted radicals when I didn't want radicals? Tell me what you did wrong. Did you draw a picture for number 2? Number 2 says, how long must the ladder be? Well, what do you do with a ladder? Do you lean it against something? So let's write ladder. The ladder should be leaning, let's see, house and ground. Did your picture look like that? Did you have, let's see, 18 here and 24 here, and we were looking for the ladder? Which part of the triangle is the ladder? Leg or hypotenuse? Hypotenuse. So it wasn't like this one. This one, we knew the hypotenuse. So I need c squared equals a squared plus b squared. I don't know the ladder, but I do know the ground, and I do know the house. What did you do wrong? Did you not know that the ladder was the hypotenuse? The ladder is the leaning part. We've got time today, so if you need me to go over something, stop me. What am I looking for in number 3? Is it a leg or a hypotenuse? Hypotenuse. So this is really the C part. So x squared, 60 and 25 go here and here. That is 625, 3600. Some people made mistakes just with addition and subtraction. Brian, on this one, aren't both of these numbers on the same side of the equal sign? Yeah. You know your mistake, right? Yeah. Do a square root. X turns out to be exactly 65. No units, so I didn't need to put that. Yes.
I got 65, I think I said 64.
That's just sad. A rectangular flag. What does a rectangle look like? Looks like that. Diagonal. Some people didn't know the diagonal was the hypotenuse. 16, 30. Anytime you have a rectangle, and they're talking about a diagonal, they're talking about the actual hypotenuse. So that's another situation like number 3. I put in, I make up my own variable. 16 squared, 30 squared. 256 and 900. 1156. Are you noticing our last step is a radical each time? And that turns out to be 34 inches. Make sure you put in your units. Notice the difference between number 4 and number 1. We do a little subtraction here. We know the hypotenuse. Over here, we're looking for the hypotenuse. So no subtraction. Most people did okay up until that point, and then number 5, we had some difficulty with this. Most people put it in the right spot. What is the radical 52? What's that? It's the hypotenuse, so it goes here. Some people turn that into a decimal. You don't want to do that. It's easier when it's a radical. What's 4 squared? 16. Anytime you have a radical that's being squared, it's the number inside. Don't make it into a decimal. That's just going to make things less accurate. Radical 52, power of 2, you get 52. What's my final step? Square root. X equals 6.
For the corrections, I only have the
No.
inches.
No. simplify the radical. We are looking for a leg. So when I do the c squared a squared b squared, what goes in for c? 20? X squared and 10 squared. Did everybody write that 20 squared was 400? Some people wrote 200. Use your calculator. You should have gotten that. 400. Little subtraction. A lot of you got to this point. How many people had 300 at least? Yeah. Most of you did. Square roots. If you wrote radical 300, you probably got half credit. We got to break that up. Take a look at the sideboard. We want to get the biggest one of these that goes into it. Some of you divided it by 4. Some of you divided it by 25. But what's the biggest number? 100. So we needed to break it up into 100 times what other number? 3. What is the square root of 100? Some of you got to that point, you started dividing, it was good. You knew that you needed to break it down, but you need the biggest number from my list of perfect squares. On a multiple choice test, you can get around this. You could figure out what radical 300 is. Everybody do that. Tell me what decimal radical 300 is pretty close to. 17 point something. Sometimes on a multiple choice test you might be able to look at the answers and do the answer on the calculator and compare it. It depends. Sometimes they put in answers that are all equal to it, but only one is considered simplified. But it's a way to check yourself. Page 2. You should have had 2 steps. Is it a triangle? That's step 1. Step 2, classify. And we're choosing from right, acute, or obtuse. Did everybody do this? You should have started with that. Add the 2 smallest. Make sure it's bigger than 102. That means it's a triangle. So I would have written down yes over here. Some of you didn't write that down. I didn't mark off for it. But you should write down, is it a triangle? Yes or no. Did I square anything yet? No. Now I ignore that. That was step 1. Now I want step 2. Oops. I don't know what's going to go in there. It's either going to be this, this, or this. What goes in for C? 102. Some people are taking the 138 and putting it in. We're done with that. That was just to figure out whether or not it was a triangle. I need 102 in that spot. Don't forget to square it. I don't know what this is yet. 48 and 90 go here. 10,404. I don't know. And then finally, I get an equal sign. How many people got an equal sign? What does that mean? Right triangle. 2 steps. 7 plus 8. Is 15 bigger than 15? Some of you wrote down 15 was equal to 15. That's great, but that doesn't make a triangle. It's always got to be greater than. You always need greater than, not equal. Some of you wrote it's not a triangle, and then you told me what kind of triangle it was. You're done when you do that. Nine, 9, and 11. 9 plus 9 equals 18. Yes, 18 is bigger than 11. So we write down yes over here. And I go through my work for this. What should I put in for C? 11. Check your work. Did you put 18 in? 18 was done. We're done with that step. You put the 11 in here. Less than 162. Some of you did all the correct work and then you had the wrong inequality symbol. 121, it always points to the smaller. Make sure you're pointing towards the smaller number. If we have a less than there, what does that mean? What kind of triangle? And the last one, 18 and 24. Make sure you're adding up the correct small ones. 18 and 24 are the smallest. That equals 42. Is that bigger than the third one? Yes. So it is a triangle. What goes in for C out of these? 36. We want the biggest one to go here. I don't know. Now I know. And that's obtuse. On the test, you're going to see one section that looks exactly like this. The only difference is that it'll all be multiple choice. So it's actually a little bit easier on the test. If you get a better grade on the test, I average it with what you got on this, and I changed quiz grade to that. Any specific questions? Does everybody realize what they did wrong? At the end of the period, when everybody is working on different worksheets or the workbook, if you still have a question, come to my desk. Chair. What we're going to do today is do a little bit of work with special right triangles. Last class, did we start to do this? Yeah. We're going to continue to do that, and we're also going to start looking at this. This is actually a lot easier than this. I'll do that for a second.